Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 240, exclusive zip access, recorded on Friday, March 3rd, 2023 from Zenatta Consulting. I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
Oh my, buddy. Good week.
Busy week. It's already March. I don't know how, but it is already March. That is alarming. It's moving
so
quick.
quickly. Just ridiculous how time flies. I don't even know what to make of it. But anyway, all is good. I want a big shout out to everybody. We launched, our training, Zenatta.com/training, our very first one on CRM team training. And the response was overwhelming. I mean, we cannot believe how many people signed up and purchased the course for their entire team. $1,000. And you get a whole full 7-day course. And if you've got 50 people on your team, it's all 50 get trained for that one flat rate. You get 10 people, it's the same deal. 100, we don't care. Add them in, train them up. Great response. Just loving, people seem to love the course. So this was something we talked about for a long time, Tyler, but just never did. So, Drew had a vision and pushed us on this, and good stuff.
Wayne and Josh together kind of formed a dream team there and got it across the line. So big shout out to the team. For all the viewers, take a look at it. If you have any feedback, let us know. Any next apps you want us to do, anything there, just, we're excited to help out.
Good stuff. All right, Tyler, with that, let's get into announcements and events. So a couple of things have changed. If you missed this last week, we launched a brand new club, Zenatta, and we have moved all of the events over there. They're no longer at zenatta.com/events. They are now over on Club Zenatta. You will scroll right on down here, and then you will see all of the different announcements. Kind of neat. If there's a new one that's been added since the last time you logged in, you'll see it here. So if you go ahead and click on the Zoho events, basically gives you all of the new Zoho events. They're all here, everything having to relate to Zoho. If you're interested just basically in the events that relate to Zenatta, you can click on Zenatta events, and all of these Zenatta events will be here. As a matter of fact, our show is live right now. So if you came there, you'd actually, well, that's pretty cool. I like that. The show's gone live, but all of our webinars, we're going to do a webinar next Tuesday, SMS for Zoho CRM with Message Media. So we're going to have the president of Message Media on, and I'm going to talk to him about SMS, how it integrates with Zoho, what it does, why they need it, why you need it. And they're doing some really cool stuff. We've talked about it before, but this is one that we, it's kind of our default recommendation to all of our clients.
For anything SMS related, just ends up working so well. So if you're in the market for it, well worth jumping in on that webinar. We're going to be working more and more closely with those guys over time. So a good place.
And you're going to have a special code and a special landing page, and you're going to get 50% off your first 3 months, I think is what they're saying. So check that out. And then Zoho Desk 2023 full product tutorial. Tyler and I are going to sit this one out, I think. And we're going to let Greg and Josh are going to do it?
Maybe Josh and Greg or Josh and I, but that's TBD. Okay. My money's on Josh and Greg. So hopefully that will be a highly entertaining webinar if Greg does find the time to help out with it. Might be news to Greg as he's watching the show now. I don't know if we've talked about that yet. But news. I'll be clicking.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go fishing. I got some time on my hands here, so let's go.
Very nice. Yeah, and I'm sitting out of that SMS one next week, so that's beautiful. I might have two of them off.
So anyway, again, if you haven't gone over to, also I guess for events, if you go just to the home page on Club Zenatta and your home, I got to shrink this up because I blew it up for everybody to see, but on your regular resolution, you'll also see all the events kind of over here in a little widget on the side as well. So you can find them there, or you can just go down and click on the events. And with that, let us head right on into the news. Tyler, a lot of news this week. We're going to start with Bigin. Basically, they have done two things that are very cool. And I kind of want to pick your brain on this because I'm not sure if this exists in CRM. If you aren't familiar, Bigin is the Zoho's basically Pipedrive version of their CRM. It's a Kanban type of CRM. It's very good.
Simpler than the flagship CRM, better mobile UI, kind of like a quick and easy version, basically.
And you can connect Zoho CRM with Bigin and synchronize those two in deals and pipeline. The biggest use case we've seen for, I don't think we've had anybody go straight Bigin 100%. But you do have it where, hey, I've got 10 guys in the field. They're going to be on Bigin, and the internal staff will be on CRM, and that kind of works out well. But anyway, if you're a Pipedrive user and you said, you know what, I don't want to be a Pipedrive user anymore, I want to move to Bigin. Well, now they are doing, you can basically just get your API token from Pipedrive, pop it in, hit import now, and Zoho's going to do all the work for you. So taking all that migration money away from us, Tyler, no more exporting of CSV files and importing. Now it's all over. So you can do that.
It's a nice
and then
update. I mean,
exactly. What was that?
Yeah, same thing here that they're doing for HubSpot. I think these are the right two CRMs for Bigin to build this tool for, right? These are the two it's most similar to. There are, Brett, there's a data migration platform for Zoho CRM, but because you can integrate or migrate from more complicated CRMs, there's kind of more mapping to do. It looks like the advantage with this migration is just like it already knows that you've got leads, contacts, accounts, deals. That's about it. That's all you're going to be able to do in Pipedrive. So you might as well just click those together and move it on.
I'm just wondering, is this on the back end of CRM? Because HubSpot has an absolutely amazing marketing automation platform. Let's face it, right? But their CRM is pretty weak. So I'm just wondering, on the Zoho CRM side, does this fit? I mean, can you do this on the Zoho CRM? Does it have that simple? Because you would just, that'd be pretty slick.
Yeah, you should be able to use their migration platform to migrate from HubSpot, but there are more steps, if I remember correctly. I've actually got it pulled up on my screen here, but yes, you probably need to do a little bit of mapping. Again, should be pretty straightforward in the flagship as well, but for these simple types of CRMs, this is a really nice tool.
I guess if it's not there, you could do this and then connect Bigin to CRM and pop it over that way, right? Anyway, good stuff there. And then made some enhancements to pick list fields, pretty much stuff that kind of is in CRM anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of like on the back end rather than adding options one by one, right? They've got some predefined, or you can copy paste in a big list, right? Some basic stuff. But nice to have, right? Similar to what we've got in CRM, it just saves a lot of time. If you need a pick list for countries,
sorting your pick list is something that's been around for a long time. So anyway, cool. And then kind of running some new templates here for team pipelines. This allows you to have different pipelines based upon your teams inside your organization. You could look at that as maybe divisions or inside your organization as well. They added 11 new templated pipelines for that as well. And then this is kind of cool, Tyler. API base increase from 5 to 50,000. That's quite a jump, huh?
Yeah, it's not surprising. I mean, the API limit was pretty low, right? Previously, I'm sure they kind of were assuming that a lot of people wouldn't be running a ton of automated actions, dumping data in. But for those who are, right, definitely nice to just have way more credits, right? So now the baseline's 50,000, and then you're getting 250 per user, right? So that's a whole lot more, right, than what you used to have. So if you're running any automated process that are dumping data in, or maybe you have a process that's pulling data out, you're going to need to be a little less worried about those credits here going forward.
All righty, moving on with the news. Zoho Desk Instant Messaging feature update, February 2023. This really applies mostly to WhatsApp users. If you are a WhatsApp user, they've just done a whole bunch with it. You can support multiple phone numbers. It's just, they've got multi-bot support if Telegram's configured, but on the business platform of WhatsApp, you have super, super nice integration into Desk. So they've kind of, they've had this for a while, but they must have some really large clients that are using this, because this is kind of a major enhancement, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. In the US, it's a lot more SMS marketing when you want to do this, but anywhere outside the US, and you talk about this, it's all WhatsApp, right? It's all WhatsApp or Telegram or any of these other platforms. So especially outside of the US, where these applications are kind of the standard, Super nice. Just bake that into Zoho Desk, because when you're providing customer experience, being able to do it in the communication channel that the user prefers is just a win-win. They respond faster, they're happier, you get the ticket closed off sooner, right? All the
Yeah,
way around, it's a good thing.
I totally
So
agree.
sending messages from, creating tickets from a message, right? All that same stuff that you're doing with your email, you can essentially do with WhatsApp. So pretty big update there for Zoho Desk.
I mean, it's interesting. We talk about all the time. I'm down in Mexico all the time, and all of my friends down there and contacts down there, everybody's in WhatsApp. But you know, they also use it for phone calls. I mean, they really are rarely ever calling within their native cellular provider. They're just using the data feed and using WhatsApp for phone calls, because you get away with that for international calls without having to pay anything if it's not in your plan. There are a lot of
Yeah.
advantages to it. One thing I will say that's interesting is, after I read this, I went down and there was a comment, and Alwyn was just saying, "Great news, team. When will Messenger, that'd be Facebook Messenger, Instagram, and Apple Messages for Business be available?" And the team says they're going to be available in Q3. So
Nice.
very, very nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, very, very, very
I
cool.
never heard of Apple Messages for Business. I had a client actually reach out to me and ask about that, if there was an integration. I had no idea that was even a thing, to be
Well,
honest
what
with
is
you.
it?
No
Do you
idea.
know?
No, no idea.
Someone in the chat room inform us as to
Just
what Apple
never heard of
Messages
it.
for Business is. We would love to
But
know.
it is coming to Zoho Desk by Q3 of this year. So if you
When
do
I
know what it
scanned this
is,
this morning,
it will be coming.
I missed the for business part, and I'm like, "Oh, Apple Messages, great!
Yeah.
That'll be cool." Anyway, moving on with the news, we are going to cover. So basically, Zoho has done a bunch of public early access announcements. We're going to talk about a few of them, and then kind of talk a little more in depth about this. So Zoho CRM, about, I don't know, almost a dozen, maybe 10 to 12 early access announcements came up this week. These are new features that they're going to be rolling out in the CRM this year. But if you want early access to them so they can beta test them before they actually roll it out to the general public, you can do so by filling out a form, and it will take you there. So the first one, Tyler, I would call this a major upgrade.
Major. A lot of these, the theme of a lot of these updates this year is the CRM team got some feedback around, they're adding a lot of cool, shiny stuff with Zia, marketing attribution, Canvas tool. But there are a couple core things that were just missing from CRM for a long time. A lot of these early access updates are probably things that you've been begging for for since day one of using Zoho CRM. So like Brett mentioned, this first one is global pick lists, which essentially means if you had a pick list in leads, contacts, accounts, and deals, which you do, it's called lead source. You can now just set all those lead source options in one place, and they will go to all the fields, right? Same thing with something like industry, right? You might have industry and leads, and then that converts and goes to industry and account. Man, it sure would be nice if there was just one industry list that I could use to measure all of those. Here it is, right? You can now do that. You can convert existing fields to this. So you don't have to recreate fields. Huge update, just ease of use, quality of life thing here. I know this one always has grinded your gears, Brett,
Well,
specifically with
it's
lead
crazy
source.
because, I mean,
Big one.
the old way would be, if you had this industry list, if you're watching us on YouTube on the screen, and you decided, oh, I needed to add another industry, you had to go into all three pick lists and add it
More.
into
Might have
all
custom modules. You might have, you could have 5 places that this field shows up. Like,
three. Right.
it's not
Right.
rare that these things are in multiple modules.
It is a beautiful, beautiful thing. They've really thought this out very well too. So a nice little article here, but that's the gist of it. The gist of it
Yep.
is, you can now go ahead and have one pick list to rule them all across all your modules, and it will sync all the way up. And there are some limitations on this down here. If you are enterprise, you can have 10 of these. If you're ultimate edition, you can have 25. And the number of pick lists that can be associated with one global set is 15. So that's your maximum. So if you got up, I guess
If
you'd
you
have to have a lot
one
of custom
field across
modules.
15 modules, you could probably streamline that. Like, I think these limits are probably fine, right? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
um, it's But yeah,
And
great
you can
updates.
only have 1,000 items in your pick list. If you have more than 15, 20 items in your pick list, you're gonna need to rethink that whole process anyway. So there you go.
Agreed.
Uh,
Agreed.
very, very cool. All righty. So that is the first early access major update. And then Tyler, you were excited about this one. Look
Oh,
up
thank goodness.
filters.
Thank goodness. So this is the proper version of something they released about 6 months back. So this is the use case. I'm in a deal and I have a lookup field that goes to contacts and I've called it lawyer, and a user goes in and clicks it and it shows all 500,000 contacts in my database. Now you can essentially set up on the back end, so user doesn't have to do this, that a lookup field is filtered, right? So now this lookup that I'm calling lawyer, I can apply a filter and say only show contacts in this lookup where type is lawyer, right? And so I use that because for real estate agents, right, they've got brokers, they've got lawyers, they've got financiers, right? And it can be a big pain point, right, for day-to-day users, because the only thing you can do is then search by name. But what if the lawyer's name is John, right? And you search that. If you've got a big database, you got 10 Johns that come back, right? And so it's huge usability improvement here. It's this is like a need to have. It's something that you can do in Creator. You've always been able to do it in Creator. And I have been begging for this one for a very, very long time. And yeah, big update. A lot of this stuff is like I'm mentioning here, just things that we really, really, really love to see, right? These core standard, gotta have it functionalities. The only thing I don't see on here is if this is something we can update existing lookups to have this filter. I would assume it is, but I didn't see it in here. Maybe I just missed it, but that's the only little asterisk. But I would think you'd have to be able to do it though.
It appears it is. It's
Oh, and
not
you
going
can
to be
do it on
available for
user
multiple.
lookups as well. I didn't even see that. They snuck in that you can do it for users. Oh man, if you could filter users by role in one of
Yeah,
these, that'd be beautiful. So you're only
I know.
picking the CX team. You're only picking the ops team. Oh man. It's just very nice. From a front end user perspective, it's just a huge time saver.
Currently not available for multi-select fields, but they say currently, so that's a good sign.
Yeah,
And this is going to be available in the Enterprise and Ultimate editions, not the Professional edition.
got it.
And I would tell you, for most companies, 95% of the companies, they need to be on Enterprise anyway.
Where you get custom functions. And if you're on Zoho 1, you have Enterprise for CRM. So you've got that.
And another major update, again, by all the way, all these, you'll need to, we'll talk about this in a minute, but you're going to need to go to Club Z, click on this article, go there and request early access from Zoho. So the other one here is field lookup in CRM.
Yeah, field of
You
lookup
can now
here.
associate fields from lookup modules.
So you're in a deal, you pick the account, the industry automatically comes into the deal, right? These are things that we do in Deluge for people all the time. They're quick little
How
functions.
beautiful.
It's just simple things, right? Or like you mentioned here, pick a contact and their email shows up, right? Just those little things. We love this stuff. Obviously, like you mentioned earlier with the HubSpot thing, it's cutting into our migration, budget. But honestly, these types of functions, like I'd
Right.
rather have users just be able to set this stuff up. At the end of the day, like bring someone like us in for the complicated stuff, but this should just be standard, and
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
really nice to see them do it.
this is just so beautiful. I
Yeah.
mean, the ability to do this and bring it over. Um, so if you're watching it, the example, like Tyler gave an example, the example that they're giving on the screen here, though, is one of you type in the contact name and it automatically populates
It
their
looks
email.
it looks there. If you're watching us on YouTube, you'll see it's actually doing it live. It's almost running like a client script, right? When he
Well, it's
picks
kind of
it,
weird.
you're in the edit
They have it
page and
running
it
client
comes in right
script,
away.
and then they've got the version they're showing here a little low, where it's not
Like a
really looking
workflow.
client scripty.
Now we're in the view
It's
and we
looking
pick
more
it.
refreshy.
Oh yeah, look at that. So
Yeah,
different kind of flow depending on if you're in the edit or the view page, but it's nice. Works in
yeah.
both. Yeah, just huge. You gotta love to see this type of stuff. It's neat to
Really
have.
great stuff. Again, you'll need to request early access to this. The entire list of all of the early access, if you go over to Clubsy, we've changed things around here. Um, we never used to, in order to get the news, you need our newsletter. We kind of put it all there. But there's a lot of stuff that we don't talk about on the show that ends up in the newsletter. And
Yep.
so we've kind of over on Club Zenatta, we've created a little area called Zoho News. I'll click on that in a minute. And it's as we find things in real time, we're just posting them here. So you can actually keep up with what's going on in real time. But here are the list of the new early access. Besides the 3 we just talked about, you've got record locking, roll-up summary, custom forecast categories, stage component, forecasting performance, and ZIA scoring. So a lot there. I'm not seeing rich text fields in notes, but maybe.
Yeah, I think that I don't know what we're allowed to say. I saw a big list of things that's coming, these kind of core features coming over the next while. I think I remember that being in there. I could be mistaken, but I think I remember that. Maybe after the show, I'll dig that out. I don't think I can get too specific. I don't want Zoho to come knocking. But
Nice.
I know that's somewhere on the roadmap for CRM.
Yeah. Good stuff. So also, to kind of reiterate this, so if you actually are in Club Z and you click on the Zoho News section, it is the latest news. So as we get the news and we find it and we post it, we basically are just putting a link to Zoho's announcement in here. Just kind of dropping it in so you can just go directly to it. Go over to the Zoho community, the Zoho blog, wherever we're finding it, a website, wherever it is. And this is kind of the direct link to go ahead and find any of that news. And maybe you want to comment on it. Like, we have it's nice. Pete C was just commenting on what we're just talking about, all the new early access stuff. So if he understands correctly, field of lookup allows us to show the fields in the main company phone number. Yes, that is correct.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
going to do that. So good stuff. All righty. And with that, Tyler, let's move on with the news. You have Zoho Cliq. You can integrate check-in and check-out notifications in Zoho Cliq with Zoho People. This isn't really news. This is a tutorial, a how-to, and I kind of wanted to highlight it because we love Zoho Cliq, and there are a lot of people that use Zoho People for timekeeping and those kind of things for their employees. And now you've got a way to integrate the two. So somebody can click and check in, check out. Super nice. And the notifications actually are in there, right? So you can see when someone checked in, see when someone checked out without having to go over to People. A lot of instructions here to make this happen. A little bit of code. You're basically building a bot. But if you are a Zoho People user and you would like to know when people are checking in, checking out without having to go over to Zoho People, you'd like to see it directly inside Cliq, there you go. You can do such. Fantastic. Awesome. Moving on. And wrapping up the news, we just wanted to give a shout out to the Zoho Flow team. Man, it does not seem like 5 years, Tyler.
I know, it's been quick. So Zoho Flow, for those who don't know, is Zoho's kind of Zapier equivalent product, right? A plug and play way to integrate different applications. We use it pretty regularly internally. Been around for 5 years. They've done a lot with it, added tons and tons of functionality. When we had started using it a couple years back, we used to see some kind of stability issues, things not happening here and there. They've mostly sorted that out to the point where, it's a great application that if the things you're looking to integrate tie in Flow, you might as well use it, right? It's just going to save you some time and effort.
And a beautiful 5 logo they've done here. I have to say, if you're watching us on YouTube, it's like water. It's a flow. There's a number 5 hidden in it. You've got a little Zen circle in it. You've got a little heart. They got a lot of cool little stuff going on here, man, in Flow. But yes, it is Zapier for, like you said, Zapier for Zoho.
Absolutely.
And nice job for the Zoho Flow team. It's become very, very useful over the last 5 years. They made a ton of improvements. So good job there. All right, Tyler, with that, let's talk about the implementation of the week.
Alrighty, so this is an implementation here that we did within Zoho Inventory. Jason was kind of our primary developer on this, and actually John, our director of finance, was kind of the, I'll do my air quotes, consultant, who kind of scoped and structured this as we wanted to get it done. So essentially, this is a automation for partial invoicing based on partial shipments within Zoho Inventory. So essentially, in this implementation, our client will invoice their clients once they have shipped the product out to that client. Doesn't need to be delivered, just needs to be shipped with a tracking number, picked up by UPS. And The challenge that they were having is that they might have a sales order for a ton of different products, but we're going to ship them when we get them, right? And we don't need to wait till everything's on file. So we kind of need to create partial invoices as we're shipping out subsets of all the items that are on that order. So to do that, we set up a little deluge function that actually lives inside of Zoho Flow. Look at that little tie-in. A little tip for developers: sometimes there will not be a workflow option in an application, like to trigger on a shipment, but it'll actually live in Flow, and you can do it there. So within Zoho Flow, we're basically listening for anytime a shipment is created. Each time the one's created, we can kind of find the sales order it was originally from, line up the items at their quantities from that shipment, and then create and send the invoice directly to the customer for those items at those quantities. So this even works if you had item A and you sold 10 and you shipped 5, it'll actually invoice out 5 of those. And then when you ship the next 5, it will invoice out the next 5 automatically for you. Um, so we've done a couple different shapes and sizes of this type of implementation. I thought I would cover it here on the show just because it is one of those things that a lot of people would benefit from. Like there's a lot of teams where something gets shipped and then we check a box in a Google sheet, and now the accounts receivable team manually prepares and sends the invoice. You don't need to do it that way. You can just write a little piece of deluge code and it will automate it for you.
Very nice. And we didn't even plan that Zoho Flow would be the last news story and then just flow directly into our implementation. How
It
nice
kind
is
of
that?
worked out nicely that way, huh?
Did. Great job, John and Jason. Thank you guys so much. And with that, Tyler, man, this is going to be all about Tyler. Let's move on to the code share. Breaking Greg's streak here. Greg and Elizabeth, between
True.
the two of them. So we kind of got a double tie in here, Tyler, but this is automate enablement of books customer bank payments. What do you got going on here?
Yes, these are 2 little code snippets. When we get to our tip, it'll make more sense how you put it all together, that you can use to automatically allow customers in books to pay via ACH. This is something we kind of went through and we set up Plaid. So when you're getting payment on an invoice, if somebody will use ACH, you kind of want them to, right? Because you're not going to pay that 2.9% for Stripe, right? I think our Plaid, it costs us like 20 cents plus like 10 cents from something else. I mean, it's much cheaper.
Yeah. So, if you got a, $5,000 invoice, instead of paying 3% for the credit card, you're paying like 50 cents. So
Yeah,
instead of
so
paying
you're saving
$150, you're paying 50 cents.
yeah,
It's kind of well worth it.
real impactful like savings there. But so we got all that set up for our account. We set up Plaid, we did all that, and then our customers couldn't pay via bank. So we went in, we found there's a little field that lives in the books customer that you cannot set as yes by default. You have to update it. First, I set up a workflow, but because they were getting created via the CRM sync, it wasn't triggering. So I had to do it as a schedule. So I thought I would just make a video, get the code out there. This is really something that you can just copy paste into your account. You'll need to swap out a couple IDs in the code, which I'll highlight in the video. But it's just one of those things where you've gone through all the work to get Plaid set up. Now you just need this stupid little checkbox to get checked. And this function will just take care of that for you for all active customers.
Yeah. Excellent stuff. And we'll talk about this a little more when we get to the tip of the week. All right, with that, let's go on to our read of the week, shall we? So I found this article over on Diginomica. They follow Zoho. They're kind of an analyst, if you would, and they follow Zoho. And long article by Phil Rainwhite here on, are we paying the hyperscalers too much for public cloud? Zoho thinks so. Hyperscalers are AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. Those are people where if you want to host your platform there, you can do so. And they basically will dial up compute, dial up bandwidth, that therefore the hyperscaling based upon your needs. And so Zoho does not use any of the hyperscalers, if you will. Any of the major cloud services out there for this, they have their own data centers. And because of that, it's really, truly allowing them to hold costs down. And
Mhm.
interesting. It's an interesting read on here. Um, Zoho. It's funny. They're currently spending 12 to 15% of their revenue, right,
Mhm.
on their data centers. And they think they're going to shave off another 5%, which is bring it down to 7 to 10%, which is the low end of what any SaaS vendor, I guess, has ever achieved, according to this article. Um, so I don't know. Interesting. As I read through this, there's a part of us that I think with certain Zoho applications, we wish they would use a hyperscaler because they're
Yeah.
very, very bandwidth and compute intensive.
Yeah.
And I think there are needs for that. I think for a good chunk of it, probably not. Um,
Yeah.
but I just wonder as we go through this, if Zoho was to use hyperscalers for maybe Zoho Meeting, right, and Voice and some of these others, would that then take a big
Yeah.
load off their general data centers, and the rest of it could run local? I don't know.
Yeah.
Just
I mean,
my take.
I think their thesis on building their own servers, it's about cost. It's
Yep.
about running machine learning models on their own data,
About
right? And
security too.
enabling machine learning. Like when you're on AWS, one thing that isn't like always apparent for front end users, you can't do everything with your data on AWS the same way you could if it was on your own server. So it does give Zoho a little more flexibility. But I think the crux is that this idea of doing it all on your own servers to save money and make the product cheaper totally works as long as you're building enough servers, right? And I
Right.
think that's where some of the challenge has been the past couple of years for Zoho, and especially the apps like Meeting, like you're talking about, that are more bandwidth intensive. Is that COVID did kind of slow down some of their
It did.
server building and real estate acquisition and some of these things they wanted to do. So yeah, I agree with everything on here. Uh, Given that you need to have enough servers to have a comparable speed and user experience, right? Because I had a prospect yesterday actually asked me, why aren't we on a Zoom meeting or a Zoho meeting? I'm sure you get that all the time. And it's like,
All the
well,
time.
not best in class. And I sit in these things all day. And so it's got to be. So yeah, I agree with a lot of the theses here. I just think the big thing is just get those servers built, and then this all makes sense, right? But
Yep.
when you start to sacrifice the speed and like user experience, that's where it becomes the math is a little more dangerous, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyway, great article. Nice write up, Phil, over at Diginomica. So good stuff there. All right, and let's head over to Zenatta.com and see what's new over there. Well, we've got a lot new, but we're going to talk about our new blog this week, which is what is BI and 5 best practices. BI is business intelligence, and if you're talking Zoho, you're talking Zoho Analytics. And this just kind of runs through BI, why you need it, some best practices around getting it all going and setting it up and why you want to do it and prioritizing things. Then we talk a little bit about analytics and data prep, which is Zoho's exactly that data prep tool before bringing things into analytics. It's kind of indispensable, I think, in the world of Zoho for most organizations, analytics. You
Absolutely.
can run base reports in virtually every single application. You can run reports inside CRM. You can run reports inside books. You've got all these different reports. But if you really want to pull it all together and you really want to take a deep light look at what your organizations across the organization and really, really kind of parse the data for KPIs and ROI and those kind of things, you really kind of need to pull it into a BI tool. Yes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a certain level of reporting that you can get normally in kind of native applications. Where it starts to fall apart is, let's say you want total profitability on a client. You need your accounting data, you need your operations data for cost, you need your customer service data for cost, right? You need all these different datas, right, to actually know, is customer A profitable? And so these analytics suites provide a platform to essentially pull all that in, push it together, and then pull out the reports and answers that you're looking for.
Nice job, team, on putting this together. And with that, Tyler, we said we'd only bring this back if we had something worthy of it, but let us go to our pick of the week. So, if you haven't figured out, if you have not been on Club Z yet, I really recommend you do it. We were using another service prior to this, and none of us were happy with it. We just weren't happy with the way it was working, the way it looked, the way we configure it, any of that kind of thing. And then I ended up on a community board when I thought, wow, this is lovely. Did a little digging on the back end to figure out what they were running it on, and they were running it on Circle.so. And it is really just an amazing, amazing application. If you are going to build an online community, this we have looked at so many and looked so hard. And now we've been running this for what, a couple weeks, I think. Yep. And it just doesn't get any better. It's just easy to set up, easy to run. You can monetize it. You can run courses on it.
Yep.
It has so many built-in features too. Like every week it sends you out a rundown of, hey, here's what's new in case you missed it. It's just so easy to use. I absolutely, we're in love with this application. Not particularly cheap, but not particularly expensive as well, depending on what you're doing. But you can have a basic setup for $39 a month, their professional setup for $89 a month, their enterprise setup for $360. That's all if you pay annually a month. We needed that one because we're doing a lot of API and a lot of other stuff and
We
setting all
always
that
need
up.
the API.
Yeah,
One thing about us is we always need the API. We're going to use that. So
because you're able to pull it into Zoho. We're able to get
Yep.
the users, grab that information, put them into Zoho, mark that they're a member of the community, do all that kind of stuff. So very, very, very cool. And we have just been loving it. So if you want to build a community, I say look no further. Go to Circle, because we have looked everywhere, buddy,
everywhere.
and trying to put this together. And they've nailed it. You also, with the Circle mobile application, you can have your community right on there. So they just download Circle and they log in, and the odds are they're probably going to only be tied into your community anyway, right? But there it'll be. But if they're on multiple Circle communities, it's real easy on the app just to switch back and forth between whatever communities you're in. And so, you were talking earlier, Tyler, you feel like they took the very, very best of like Discord.
They took a lot of UI and like flow inspiration from Discord, but kind of like tweaked it to make it make sense for business app usage, right? And like more of like a B2B or web-based platform. So there's some stuff in there that isn't in Discord. There's some stuff in there that that's in Discord that isn't there. But like from a UI perspective, I think they nailed it in terms of like the tabs and the way things open up and the way things thread. I mean, it's a really good platform.
Yeah, just fantastic. Really, really good. So anyway, that is Circle, the Circle community. Kudos to these guys. I think they came over from Teachable and started this. So they've learned a lot. They built what I consider to be probably the best online community out there. So we wanted to let everybody know about that. And that's our pick of the week. And now let's just continue with the theme of Tyler, and let's go on to the tip of the week. I tried to pause this on a more stupid face, but
I think you got a pretty good one.
Best I could find. All right, so Tyler, this goes back to your code share, which is enable ACH bank payments in Zoho Books. But here you go into a little more detail, like looking at books.
I show you where to put the code that's in the snippet. I show you where to make the scheduler, make the SQL, do the pivot, kind of a full walkthrough. I actually make the edits to the code that you'll need to make in the video, right? To be able to kind of just walk through that super easily. So yeah, this plus the code share over at Club Zenatta should basically get you across the line on this automation. Again, well worth having. If you've got Plaid set up or any ACH, turn this on, right? Because you want your customers to be able to actually use ACH, save you some money.
Fantastic. And as always, if you head over to youtube.com/Zenatta, that is where you will find all of our videos. We think we make more content on Zoho than anybody, even Zoho most of the time lately, it seems like. And so head on over there. We've got just a ton of content. It's all quality stuff. There is no fluff. We don't put you through listening through 5 minutes of us talking about our dogs and our braces like we do on this show. We just get right to what is exactly going on and get you the information that you need. So check that out over at youtube.com/Zenatta. All right, buddy, let's get to some Q&A. All righty. First question comes from Jeff. Jeff's saying we built a Zoho form that captures a large amount of information about our clients when we're onboarding them. Most of the time, these clients are two spouses. Is there a way, or do you have a video I could watch that shows how to have the collected information for spouse one go to a contact record, spouse one in Zoho CRM, and then the collected information for spouse two to go to a separate contact record in Zoho CRM? I haven't been able to figure out how to collect the information from two contacts or leads into one singular Zoho form and have that information split out into two contact records in the CRM. Going to have to do it with Deluge, right, Tyler?
Yeah, release Zoho Flow. Within Zoho Flow, you could actually take the data and parse it into two contacts. You would just have two like create contact actions. So yeah, you probably need to go through Zoho Flow, Jeff, or you could have it write like the primary spouse directly to CRM and capture the secondary spouse data there and then run a function that moves it over. But it feels a lot cleaner to just do it in Flow. You don't need any deluge that way. And, just save you some time and effort when you go to get this turned on.
All righty. And then Dawn, after watching the Zoho Books full product tutorial, says, what would you recommend doing a test book since there isn't a sandbook box for testing the account cycle and migrating a large data set?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're right. There is no sandbox. A lot of times, if we're doing an accounting migration, we'll take maybe like the last 2 months of data and move it over to make it easier, right? And then kind of play with it over there, see what workflows you need. Once you're good, blank it out, set the date, right? And get ready to move the full data set over. But yeah, unfortunately, you kind of just have to test with fire. You can surely gate automations around like customer name and things like that if you want to test it on like a dummy account. But yeah, without a sandbox, you do have to kind of get clever with how you're going to do testing.
Alrighty. And then Tarun, after watching how to link Zoho Creator Forms to Zoho CRM, says, but I want my custom module fields, which are not available in these options. And that's just the way it is, right, Tyler?
Essentially, as of right now, Tarun, you're right. The CRM integrations for Zoho Creator, unfortunately, that default field does not allow for custom modules right now. You can sign our petition, though, to get those added. I know that would make Josh on our team very, very happy. But
We've got that over at petition.org. It's up there right next to it.
Was it change.org or whatever
the
that
global
site is?
warming initiative right now. It's really it's getting a lot of traction. So, all righty. And a better way to healthcare after watching managing subscriptions in Zoho subscriptions tutorial said, what is the best way to build subscriptions when the amount charged is based on the age of the customer? Now, I'm going to give my answer, and then Tyler's going to disagree with me. We kind of chatted about this. Depending on what you're trying to do, a better way to healthcare. Zoho subscriptions isn't built for this. I'm just going to say that to begin with. But you could use a Zoho form, and you could capture the information in Zoho form, particularly their age. And then when they hit submit, it could reroute to a specific Zoho subscription based around that age. You could take them there just for that specific subscription. But that's about as good as you're going to get as far as, hey, when their age changes, you want to auto update it. You want to give them an increase every year, all that kind of stuff. Tyler, you basically say Recurly's got to be the answer for most of this, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends because we read this different ways when we went through the beginning. Brett was thinking the age of the customer, like the customer is 60. I was thinking the age of the customer, like they've been a customer for 1 year. So it kind of depends on what you're looking to do. Honestly, if it's the age of your customer, Brett's idea of the forms, it's not super clean on the back end, but it would work. You could surely do it that way, right? And have kind of like these different plans based on that. You might want to check relevant pricing discrimination laws. I don't know how those work. I know there are some that you can't do this, that, and the other, but that's outside of this Zoho conversation. The other way is that if you're looking to build them a variable rate based on how long they've been a customer, you can do that in subscriptions. It's not advisable. It takes a big old custom function and it sends them a million notifications when you do it. So it gets a little clunky. So it's like both of these things, you can do them, but neither of them are going to be in a way that feels normal or is kind of like default functionality in the application.
Yep. All righty. And then Darcy over in Club Z with a post titled Zoho Inventory Warehouses. Is there any plan to add more than 5 warehouses? We have one main warehouse and we use our trucks as warehouses. Any suggestions to accommodate more than 5 warehouses? Well, we looked this up, Tyler. You've got it up on your screen. What's the answer?
I had to Google this one. Yeah, I had to Google this one. So yeah, if you've got 5, you must be on the professional plan. If you bump to enterprise, you get 8, or you should be able to get individual add-ons for warehouses at a price of $8 per month per warehouse. You have to pay annually. So you have to pay the 12 times 8, 96 for a year of warehouse licensing per warehouse. If it's not available in your subscription, reach out to, I think it would be sales@zohocorp.com. That would take care of that, or support, and they'll route you to the right person.
Was there any gating on that? Like you have to be on the enterprise version to buy warehouse add-ons?
I didn't see anything. I looked at that. I didn't see anything there. So you should be all right.
All righty. And Beat Z asks, for existing clients, we have a project in Zoho Projects. Thus, in the CRM, you can easily see an add task to the account for the related list for Zoho Projects. Does it make sense to use CRM task module for clients with projects in Zoho Projects? Well, we talked about this one offline too. It may, Beat Z. I mean, maybe the project is a whole different staff. It's an implementation group and they're doing that. And so those tasks are particular to that, but maybe you've got some internal stuff that you might just want to do in CRM. I don't know.
Like let's say that you win a new client and you've got a workflow that says 1 month after you win, we're going to have a customer experience person check in, regardless of where they're at in their project, right? You'd probably want that to be a CRM task because that's where that user is going to live. So the trick is just to think about like, who is this task for and where did they work, right? Because you wouldn't want someone who does 90% of their work in projects to have to go check CRM for the odd task here and there and vice versa. So you want to just make sure that like in an ideal world, each user has one list of tasks. Obviously we don't live in an ideal world, but we can get close if we can. So I would think about like who it is that's receiving this task and move on it from there.
And Beat, I don't know if you're going to watch this or not, but I got to know, given your name, which we know is your real name, sir, were you ever a drummer? I just want to know. Did you take up drums as a kid? Are you drumming now? You got a night gig? No? All right. Owen Swift, I always want to say Oren Swift here, the wine. But anyway, Owen, after in Club Z, is that saying bridging Cliq with other chat systems. He wants to know they're a small team of enthusiastic Cliq users. Is there a way basically to link it to Teams, Slack, Google Chat, WhatsApp, etc.? Not that we know.
Not particularly. Like, I mean, hypothetically, you could have these webhooks going in certain channels back and forth, and hypothetically, you might be able to get there, but probably not advisable. You really have to figure out because you need to go into their accounts to get their data to flow over to your Cliq. It's probably just not feasible. You could, if they all spun up free Cliq accounts, I think you could set up external networks to communicate with them. But yeah, unfortunately, a lot of these chat tools, I mean, they're competitors, right? They build themselves into kind of walled gardens, right? They don't really want to integrate with these other apps. They want you to move over to theirs. So unfortunately, nothing that we would recommend here.
All righty. Look at that, 50 minutes. Beautiful. We want to thank everybody for joining us. We hope you have a fantastic week ahead. As always, if you want to get a hold of Tyler or myself, please head over to Zenatta.com and click book a meeting.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes of the show, as well as links to all the stories we discussed today. We'd love if you would subscribe to our newsletter to get all the Zoho news delivered to your inbox every single week, and subscribe to us here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. I'll see you next Friday.
Take care, everybody.
New outro music.
I love this, man. I love Freddie's grooving music, baby. Zenatta.com/training. By the way, we have to change our exit there, Tyler, because we don't find the news on our website anymore. We've moved things around. Some stuff's over on Club Z.
Yeah, so hopefully we've got some redirects set up. I feel like Wayne Shelley and Wade Miles ahead of us on that.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Everybody.